phases and stages. Like they reported a couple months ago that the Fed had lost track of $545 billion. That
Wow.
shows incompetence to handle the financial function for another fiscal year from these clowns. And they're showing us the failings of the system. They've been showing us bank branches closing. They've been showing us police stations closing,
Right.
which was a response to the letter,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you seeing different jurisdictional controls being taken in certain places. All this is just showing you that these events is taking place in real time. Remember we was talking about the UN trucks
Yeah.
on the
Yeah. Yeah.
trains and all
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right? Because they all remember in the letter it told them to take it all back,
Yeah. Yeah.
give it to the clans.
So that's the last question I'm gonna ask you, Rod, and we're gonna get out of here. Somebody asked, they said, make sure you ask Rod this question, and I almost forgot to ask you. They said, okay, we talked about the gold coming back when Trump got the gold on the cargo planes. What did they take that gold? Did they take it back to Fort Knox? Did they take it underground? Did they take it to a vault? I mean, what did they take it? That gold.
I'm not 100% sure, but I have an opinion. I believe that they would have took it at one of the underground installations in Colorado because
Yeah.
that's where the infrastructure is being secured from.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And normally, when you securing the infrastructure from a place, you guarding something of high value in the place that you're trying to keep most secure.
Right.
Right.
So
So that's why I believe that um, they have the gold at the moment.
yeah, but they ain't what they ain't gonna tell us is they ain't all our gold. They was just with the percentage, like 10, like less than 2 or 3% of our. That wasn't even it wasn't even a mark on our level of gold. It's a whole city of gold underground. Man, look, they be
You
man,
remember that movie with Nicolas Cage?
yeah, yeah, yeah. National
That's
treasure. It's a whole
that's the
fucking city.
national treasure. That's Big Mama Bank.
Yeah,
You seen them go underground between, I think it was between Philadelphia and DC, and he
yeah,
found that big old underground
yeah,
cavern full of
yeah,
all. That's Big Mama money.
yeah. The Knights of Templar. Look, what they ain't gonna tell you is it's a group of Knights of Templars that hold loyal to Big Mama, and then it was two fraction of them. One held loyal to Big Mama, and that's the ones that's turning this shit back over right now.
Yeah,
The ones that held loyal to the held because it was a group that held loyal to the Pope. Then it was another group that started marrying some of Big Mama's daughters, and they had children by them. So they really held alliance with Big Mama, and they show that in the Assassin's Creed in their video game of how these dudes they were coming over and married into our tribe, these Knights of Templar, and then they started helping fighting against the other ones. Because you just said that some of the cowboys and the Indians were fighting against the cavalry. And I'm thinking
yeah.
the ones that was fighting against the cavalry, there was those Templars who had came over and was allowed to mix in with us, and they were like family to
Right.
Big Mama.
Well, when they came over as Vikings,
Okay. Okay.
and they today we call them Hell's Angels,
Uh-huh.
but that's the horseback riding nomads that was commissioned by Big Mama to roam the land as long as they stayed to themselves and kept their business, their tribal business, and their clan. And
Right.
the government infiltrated them to get into their tribal business, and that's why they end up making allegiances to get from under that infiltration. That's how they was taking down their leadership. And a lot of these guys, they be saying because they bikers, they racist, and nothing could be more further from the truth.
Right.
Because some of these bikers will stick up for you quicker than some of these brothers
That's right.
will.
That's
Because
right.
they didn't done it for me,
That's
you
right.
know. So some of them, they wanted to keep their tribal business in their tribes. I mean, whatever happened with the bikers, stay among the bikers, and it's not outsiders'
Right.
business.
Right.
And the government forced their way in to put their business outside of the bikers community.
Mm, that's deep.
So we all have a common enemy to get everything back to its proper balance on the land.
Uh-huh.
So those came over after they was chasing Scotta and Scotia.
Uh-huh.
They pulled them out the Abbey over there and put them on the ships and sailed them over here. That's who they was looking for when they took Sacagawea back to Europe,
Uh-huh.
because they thought she was one of those royal daughters, and they found out when they examined her, she didn't have the right blood.
Hold on, was it Sacagawea or Monteoka, Pocahontas? Because Sacagawea is Ben York's wife.
Yeah, they took her over there because they wanted to see if she was the rightful heir,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
right? And they had some kind of test that they did on her to determine she wasn't the one,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yep.
Pocahontas, that's a name of an actress.
Yep.
Pocahontas means she be playing.
Yeah.
That means
Yeah.
she just playing the part.
Yeah. Her name Monteoka though.
Hmm. Right?
All right,
Because they
Rob.
telling you that's how the ancestors give you clues about insert into the historical record. Because
Uh-huh.
the name they gave her was the playful one. That
Yep.
means that she's performing a play. That means she's playing a
Wow.
part.
Wow.
But through the evolution of time, we forget what the ancestors meant when they called people by certain names. Like Sitting Bull was called Sitting Bull because they was calling him lazy,
Right? Right.
right? Crazy Horse was called Crazy Horse because his mannerisms and his natural behavior to regular people, he looked like he was a lunatic. But to
Right.
the ones that knew him, they knew he was one of those wise ones that do the Hyoka dance of the lunacy.
Uh-huh.
And he tell the truth amidst the appearance of the insanity in order to get the message across to whoever is able to listen to the language.
Yeah. We
So
gave him
we
we gave him names like his horse won't let him ride. Because they sit out there and watch him get on his horse, and then when he get on his horse throw him off, right? And they say, oh yeah, we're gonna name him. His horse won't let him ride. Another dude, he riding on his horse, right? And his hair go in the wind. So they said his hair in the wind. That's his name. His hair in the wind. That's how we gave tribal names like that, like black, like different names. We gave names based on attributes of the person, right?
Yeah,
So that's what we
so
did.
that's Cameron. We played the dozens, and out of the game called the dozens, you come out of it with a nickname.
Wow. Interesting. That's interesting.
So the name is normally the tribal name is the name that defines your character,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So you might be born with a state name, but your nickname is your tribal name.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yep. They
Your
don't.
nickname is your tribal name. Your birth name is your state name.
Yep. So the real name is your tribal name. The other name is Scraw Man.
Right.
Cap.
That's
He
called
was
your
Cap.
sacred name when you read the pyramid text. It keeps talking about calling you by your sacred name.
Yeah, they say
Your
you got two
sacred
names.
name is the
Yep.
name that embodies the character of who you are the best.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Shout out Indian boy.
You wrap us up, young elder.
Hey, it's a wrap, man. This right here, hey, we the hottest in the game right now. I mean, after this, I mean, Raw got 300 tapes out with nothing but per, we got some of the receipts. But after this, man, I think tonight a lot of people got it more on like how this shit is falling down, like how it's like they really got it tonight. And you know how we do it. We came in with the Asiatic black man joint. Then we know how we do it because we gotta, how we gotta do it. So we gotta get up out of here, man. Y'all hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you want to show Raw some love on the Cash App, hey, go follow him on Instagram. Follow him on Facebook at Raw Hayes, right? On Instagram, I mean Facebook. You able to go live on Instagram yet again, Rod?
I'm still in Instagram jail.
Damn. But he go live on Facebook. But hey,
Yeah.
whenever you ready to come back, just let me know though. We can go live anytime. So we're gonna be
All right.
back, y'all. We're gonna let y'all ponder on this. Hey, bro, last thing. What you think about the pyramid? They said they got found the pyramid down here off the coast of Louisiana. And I remember you used to tell me that there was an
Remember, I
intake.
was telling you over there under where they Saint Bernard Parish was. It was a
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
pyramid.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Now they coming
Yeah.
up. Now it's
Yeah,
popping up.
that ain't no secret. We been knew that was there. The tribes been knew.
Yeah.
And the newcomers that fish the waters know something is strange under the water over there. They don't know
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
We know
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
power that the ancestors is embodied in the
Yeah.
architecture that's under the water.
Yeah. And it's coming back up now. All this shit coming back up to full blast.
Yeah. And then what did the prophecy say? That Atlantis would rise again.
Damn. There you go. There you
And
go
what
right
else
there.
supposed to rise again?
The city of Moo.
The South.
Yeah. The South.
The South. They said the South will rise again, and Atlantis will rise again, and they both rising simultaneously. And Australia is significant. If you see the page, the cover of it say "Pax with the Devil," and of course, somebody sent me this book last week, or a couple weeks ago, and I was going to do the live and show y'all some of the information in there. But I thought about BDL and I wanted to work with him, and it gave us a perfect opportunity. I wanted to see which directions would the receipts take him once he's seen them. So this is where we're going to be going into the pacts that they made with nefarious forces to oppress us. And sometimes them nefarious forces won't work with them unless they offer up blood. The blood energy is one of the most powerful energies in the universe, and the bloodletting ritual itself is a massive loose release ritual, right? So it's tapping into the misery and the suffering of the person that they sacrificing or the animal. They That's why kosher food is not prepared and butchered the same as our food, regular people.
Facts. Facts.
Same with halal. None of them are butchered the same because in the ancient cultures, we had a certain reverence for other species, and any animal that was willing to allow us to consume it for sustenance, right? That is the highest expression of a food stock animal.
Facts.
Our over here, our original food stock animal was the bison, the elk, the deer, the moose. We didn't eat bovine beef,
Mm-hmm.
right? Bovine beef was introduced. So once they slaughtered the bison, and those were massive rituals. The philosophy in the bloodletting ritual is that for every bison they killed an original one of us. And they even have it written in a bison dialogues in DC, which takes us to politics,
Facts.
right? The politicians commission people to spill blood on purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
to deceive us, they send people that look like us, but they ain't us, to ensure that we spill each other blood. There's a whole, I forgot to look it up, Bidel, but there's this cup, and it's a track record of the blood that's spilled for the time they here. If we spill each other blood, that don't go against them.
Okay.
That's why they promote us spilling each other blood. But if one of them spill our blood, they only can spill so much, and then that brings their whole reign to an end. So there's a church, old church in Europe, and this church has what's called the Grail Cup. And the Grail Cup's job is when they spill a certain amount of blood, they have to adjust the level in the cup to for the blood that they spill.
Mm.
So they don't use their children in the wars, they use ours.
Fact.
Because we spilling each other blood, they not liable for it. We are. So when we come home, we got all of these ancestral spirits of the people that we did stuff with torturing us. They call it post traumatic stress disorder,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when we get into these packs that they made, right? This is just to show y'all that we know this ain't none of this made up. This is what they do.
Mm-hmm.
This is a how-to manual to make pacts with the devil. You want to pick it up from there, Bidell?
Yeah, and we're also going to be showing you how it applies to government and within the factions and their organizations. When you're talking about eugenics, we're going to be going into like things like Planned Parenthood. We're going to be just basically the inception point of the degradation was facilitated by Babylonian culture, which coincides with democracy, and and I basically broke that down when I was talking about the secret treaty of Verona and how they created the demo system that basically created the form of patriarchy in the form of capitalism that basically applies to the Babylonian blood magic and under the Draconian Constitution and things of that nature. So right here in this passage right here, it says the pacts with the devil on page 31. It talks about how they use the goat's blood. Now, that's crazy that you showed me this publication, some of this part right here, because in the movie Crow came out over the weekend, and he has a tattoo on his back. He had a goat and he had the 666 ether around it that basically applies with the devil contract, the blood contract, in order to get his loved one, the woman that he's showing on this illustration right here. So the basis of the movie is all about blood rituals in order to make a pact with certain entities that don't take corporeal form to the point where he's able to uh, perpetuate this form of a sacrifice. And also, when you look at the color spectrum of red and pink, I told you in the last transmission that red and pink also applies to the number nine. The number nine, which is finality of the demo system that overthrew the restoration of the matriarch. So that's what's going on right now because, like I was telling y'all before, everything that basically applies to their political system, everything that applies to their system is also acclimated to the timeline. And they put the movies out that basically in a form of symbology to show you what's going on. But you got to understand the symbolism. So also we're going to
Well,
go.
the goat.
Yeah,
You
go
know the
ahead.
goat head is the goat head is the symbol for uterus,
Yep, that's a fact. That's a
right?
fact.
So when they're talking about spilling the goat blood, this take you back to the south to what they call red gravy, sacrificial blood of the missus,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you go back to early colonial America, they didn't have the movie theaters. They had what's called minstrel theaters,
Mm.
right? That's where they did the plays and all of those things they was done through the minstrels.
And then
So
on this,
what stuck out the most in these parts that you've been checking out?
the most that I got out of it, I'm looking for this certain publication that shows you how it basically ties into government and also within the infrastructure on how they use our biological fluids, which is a form of transgressive art, and they use that as a form of incantations and things of that nature. So I've seen
Right.
that applies to this to that part of the publication. Let me see. And I also, when you go and get into the sex magic aspect of it, you can see why the great majority of the people within the infrastructure of media and celebrities and things of that nature, that's another way to make these blood packs by way of the biological fluids of, because I forgot his name, Aleister Crowley. They used to use it as a
Mm-hmm.
form of elixir, the man and the woman's biological fluids or sexual fluids. Okay, so right here in the publication, it says what is significant about the delusion, what has recurred throughout the human history is called the blood libel. So that's also applied to liberalism. And we all know that liberalism is also a branch of democracy. So, and it also tells you right here, they say they actually have fundamentalists, lawyers, doctors, TV repairmen, travel agents identified as secret symbols in the yellow pages. So that means that there is a secret language that's going on that we don't know about that's acclimated to the blood packs. So it also talks about the,
All
go ahead.
all of those things that you just mentioned in the yellow pages are now digitized with different symbols
Mm-hmm.
and put on the internet. Right.
Fact.
And this is how when they surf in the dark web, they know which sites to avoid.
Oh,
Right. Because they know that the people who run the site ain't in it, they not the same people.
mm,
Right. But if they got the right symbolism, the person searching the dark web, so oh, here we go, right here. This is the depravity that I need to see. So all of those things goes into understanding the mechanics of blood magic. And once you know the mechanics of it, your spiritual self, your higher self will begin to
mm.
protect you from it. And this is one of the main reasons why we wanted to show these receipts.
And there's a certain one that I'm looking for that basically I want to show the people that on how this is all connected to government, and it's crazy. So they also talking about right here, it says, while the definition of blood sacrifice is beginning of this chapter used in the study of history, origins, and some writers wishing awaken their audience to the horrors of which humans are capable, have broadened the original definition of human sacrifice to include such as war, abortion, reduction of welfare benefits for children, reduction of educational benefits for children, the loss of afternoon milk for children, slavery, exploitation of natural resources, female discrimination, wife beatings, witch hunt, uh, the LGBT persecution, uh, child abuse, mistreatment of elders, capital punishment. All this stuff is all connected to government, which comes from is basically extracted from the demo system. And then it says right here that the blood sacrifices old as the human race, it appears from the beginning of times, have felt an urge to sacrifice other living things for specific religious purposes, while some researchers has attempted to explain some blood sacrifices as cannibalism. And we all know where cannibalism comes from: Canaanite Babylonian blood magic, which is a form of sacrifice. And it, just like in the movie Crow, they was talking about sacrifice to these entities that don't take corporeal form, but they only can infiltrate certain individuals by way of the blood pact. And that also coincides with the what was that publication? The Bloody Oath of Secrecy, which is basically
Yep.
tied to the Constitution of when the written in Crispus Attucks, his blood, it was basically written in that. So how does that basically apply? Like all this stuff that I just read right here, how does that apply to, uh, from your perspective, how do you think that applied to the demo system of democracy?
Well, it's not the system is the application of the underlying sorcery. In
Okay.
this case, they using the democratic system or the demon system
Mm.
to keep us participating in these rituals. Would you happen to have that picture of the DNC in the Chicago River?
Oh, I'm about to get. I gotta send it. I'm about to send it to myself right now. I forgot all
Okay,
about
so while you doing that, they have had dyed the Chicago River red,
it. Hmm.
which is also one of the Mosaic plagues on Egypt. We remember we in Egypt, so they got to give us this not Egypt, but the civilization that's known as Egypt originated from over here. So that was like a satellite civilization to the old Atlantean civilization. This not ancient Kemet, this ancient Atlantis, but all of the stuff in Kemet came from the Atlanteans,
Facts.
right? So they using these systems, the blood magic, the money magic, and the sex magic, and they get to participate in them. The abortion ritual is a blood right, right? And that's to give women the opportunity to not be responsible for who they have children by. Because if they don't like the baby daddy, they can go get it snatched out, and he won't never know she was pregnant.
Facts.
Right. So all of these is different types of rituals. They take the placenta. The placenta is more valuable to them than the aborted fetus because they finna use all kind of magic on it. They finna put it in the cosmetics. They finna put it in food colorings and all kind of stuff and call it natural ingredients. They are natural,
Right.
but all of this is the system. The maintenance of the system is to compel as many people as possible to participate in the systemic bloodletting rituals, the blood rites.
Hold on. I'm about to drag it over here. All right.
So when they said that DNC dashed Chicago River Red to celebrate abortion.
That
Even the
that was
women that got abortion don't celebrate it.
right.
That's what people are not paying attention to. The women who, for whatever reason, some of them for they can't afford to take care of a child, they got to have an abortion. Some of them is they too young to have a child, they have an abortion. All of the women that have abortions, some of them are tormented by that,
Mm-hmm.
which is also part of their blood rituals to cause these issues. This was only a week ago, less than a week ago.
Facts. So everything right now, like according to their timeline, it's like it's divine, divination is taking place. So what I'm saying, that we definitely not making this up because they put everything in these publications. And I'm looking for a certain publication how it shows you about how they talking about it in the education system as well.
It might be under the part where they're talking about the uses of blood magic in the church.
Oh yeah, and okay, I think I know what you're talking about. All right, I think it's this right here. It talks about the sacrifices in the early Hebrew days in the New
Yeah.
Testament.
So
Bloodshed.
this a lot of Christians are unwitting dupes is what they call them. An unwitting dupe is somebody who don't have a clue that they tricked into something that they've been tricked into, and they're so dedicated to it that they will defend it, never knowing what they defending.
Right.
Right? Can you blow that up some more? I want people to see this part because we finna go into this part about the religious dogma of
Okay.
the. Okay, so let's go up to the top. So here we go.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to say blood has played a significant part in the drama of human history. In the Old Testament, there are numerous references to the blood sacrifices practiced by the early Hebrews. When the references of the New Testament are included, there are 375 references to blood in the entire Bible. Right? Now, the numbers is significant.
Mm-hmm.
The references to blood in the Bible are both complex and contradictory. Much of this can be resolved by employing simple ideas such as who is speaking, when the passage was written, how was it used, who is the object of the discussion, and what is the relationship between parties involved.
Mm.
Let's scroll down.
All right.
I'm trying to find where we was at so I can pick up.
Oh, okay. I'll scroll down too far. Yeah, after the 375 references.
Right. Then it said
The parties involved, and
re-
sometimes.
sometimes the blood sacrifice is of a supreme good, and at other times is of a supreme evil. Frequently, it is used metaphorically as in the case of the Eucharist, and
Mm-hmm.
the interpretation depends on whether the blood sacrifice and blood were considered good or evil, and for whom, right?
Mm.
For the sake of exercise, compare the four following passages from the Bible. So then he give us four different biblical references about blood being used in the Bible for comparative analysis on how the blood is being used, what is being used for, what's the goal, who they doing it for, all that stuff in the Bible would tell you,
Mm.
right? So biblically, the ones who want the most blood is Yahweh,
Yep. So that basically applies to
right?
the Tetragrammaton as well. And they, and I forgot the
Mm-hmm.
upload. They use the sigil system of the Tetragrammaton, and they use it in the form of incantation, and they entrap the energy around of a circle when they do these blood packs.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to Revelations, and he's an ain't
The
over.
Tetragrammaton, which is the what they call the ineffable name, the name that you should never utter. That's why they don't put no vowels in it, right? But it's Yahweh, right? But Yahweh in Sumer is Enlil,
Facts.
right? He got a son named Baal Hadad. That's the one they keep calling Lord. Baal is being translated as Lord. They got
Mm-hmm.
you thinking this is all one person in order because you ain't supposed to know.
Right.
It's not one. It's not one person, right? So in the Hebrew, you got El sometimes used for God. You got Elo used for God. You got Elohim, right? Then you got for Lord, you got Baal,
Mm-hmm.
Adonai, and it's a couple more of them. But the whole thing is when they translate it into English, and if you don't go back to the ancient language, you will never know none of this. You will think that it's one continuous story about one God that's doing all of this stuff to fight evil, and he killing everybody.
Facts. It just
He
tells
the
you right
one
here.
doing all of the, he the one doing all the killing. The
Mm-hmm.
devil, who the devil killed? God told Joshua to kill off the whole village. He told Moses the same thing. He sent
Facts.
Melchizedek to go and help Abraham murder nations. Literally, that's what it say,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when we looking at this, who's doing all the bloodletting? And speaking of Yahweh, the famous blood sacrifice story with which most of us are familiar is the Abraham and Isaac. As we
Facts.
are told, Abraham was ordered by
Yahweh.
ineffable name to kill his son Isaac. Abraham is about to do this in obedience to his God Yahweh. When the holy go to the next one.
All right. Well, I
Okay,
can.
we probably don't have them.
Yeah, I don't
Probably don't
think
have
it.
them in direct order.
But that basically just shows people you like a lot of people don't understand the fact that the church and the state is not separate because they all connected by way of canon laws. So government and religious text basically applies together for those who don't understand that whole, synopsis of what he just read. Because that's why the blood has to be spilled by way of monotheistic religion that's acclimated to government. It all works in tandem. So it also talks about, let me see. There was one part of the book that I was reading that I found very significant, and it was, I think this is the other part right here. Yeah, I'll blow it up for you because it's a continuation of talking about how Abraham and Yahweh, he was ordered by.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the next page. One tells them not to. It says instead of a covenant is made between Abraham and Yahweh, and a new epic of history begins. In this case, the blood sacrifice served at least two purposes. One, to test Abraham and to symbolize the beginning of a new epic in Hebrew history. The other religious scholars have believed that Abraham Isaac's story simply served as a warning by God to his people not to harm others and to stop practicing the then prevalent pagan ritual of child sacrifice. Now, that's the irony because this the same God tell you that if your child disobedient, you should stone him to death,
Facts.
right? And this the same God that told them to kill the women, the children, the livestock, and don't leave nothing in the land alive. And then they brought back the best of the flock, and he said, "I ain't want none of that shit.
Right.
I wanted you to kill it all.
Yep.
Now I gotta punish you because you was disobedient." And they thought they was doing they righteous God a righteous service.
Mm-hmm.
Later, we will see how the blood sacrifice has been used to initiate a new period of history. In fact, many social historians and philosophers believe that war served the same purpose.
Mm.
Mm, mm, mm. It's right there. It said
Exactly.
with the definition of the blood sacrifice at the beginning of this chapter has been used in the study of its history and origin. Some writers wishing to awaken their audience to the horrors of which humans are capable have broadcasted the original definition of human sacrifice to include such themes as war, abortion, reduction of welfare benefits for children, reduction of educational benefits for children, the loss of afternoon milk for children, slavery, the exploitation of natural resources, female discrimination, wife beatings, the witch hunt, homosexual persecution, child abuse, the mistreatment of elders, and capital punishment. We will discuss the use and misuse of the meaning of blood sacrifice later on in the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So you see here, he didn't tie it into the school system, to the milk, which takes us back to the video I did with Empress where we talked about the milk of the mother, right? This is why they keep giving us cow's milk. It's a sacrifice.
Mm.
Do we supposed to use the substance of the cow, but we're not supposed to consume the cow. The milk is supposed to be a prosperity ritual
Mm-hmm.
for Lakshmi, right? And the drinking of the milk is the consuming of the blessings of Lakshmi. But when they add other blood sacrifices, it's telling Lakshmi that you a heathen, you a terror, you wicked, you putting blood with the milk to contaminate the children. Now you understand how they tricking us.
Mm. So that means that everything in our
Blood
everyday
sacrifice. Yeah, it say the blood sacrifices all the human race. It appears that from the big, we already read that, didn't we?
Yeah, we already read it. Yeah. Everything in our
Mm-hmm.
life, you know what I'm saying? We don't even know it's a sacrifice. That's crazy. And you know, even the milk, it's got 75,000 somatic cells. So you really just drinking pus and blood at the same time. So let me see. We're gonna get into where's it at? There was a significant part when it was talking about Chronos that I was tapped into. Yeah, here we go. Now, this I found this very interesting. It's talking about Uranus, which is Orion star constellation, which is another title for heaven. And the Gaia focuses on the children of Earth being trapped by the sexual embrace of the sky and Earth. To free her children, Gaia makes a sickle and gives to Kronos her son. Kronos not the same as Chronos, although frequently interchanged with Father Time. Castrates his father, putting an end to the union of the sky and earth. Uranus' blood falls to the earth, and then these drops of blood, the 12 titans and the titaness, are created. The blood sacrifice put an end to the era of Uranus, who kept his children prisoners of earth. On the other hand, Kronos ate his children. So that means that, like, in order to basically encapsulate us inside this fermented dome and to keep this perpetual cycle going on under the sleep spell of Kingu and the sleep spell of Leviathan, we're basically in a prison planet, and it's all being based upon like sacrifice. So the more that they basically deviate from the ideology of sacrifice, because we know that their time is up, because we at the end of the purification period of their system. So does that mean that by way of their factions of government, when they stop having the chances to do all these blood rituals and things of that nature, would that basically dematerialize the grid system or the firmament? Would that basically make heaven connect with earth again? Or is that what that basically implying?
Okay, so this is the operational instructions for the application of the spell of Kingu. This is the Greek description of them applying Kingu to
Mm-hmm.
trap us in the system, but we're not trapped by external forces. We in a stupor. We can't see and that with the eyes of God. We can only see with the eyes of man because that's the purpose of this ritual, right? And the reason why they say Kronos eat his children is because he outlives them because he's an eternal. But his children have to go through. They live eternity through reincarnation cycles.
Mm.
So if Kronos represents time, time is the as father time is Chrono, but we all know that the older version is mother time, which is Kalima,
Mm.
right? So all these things happen and we become oblivious to it and they keep it in print so that they can share it to each other, to for each other to know, but we ain't supposed to know.
Facts.
That's why they say if you want to hide something from a ninja, put it in the book.
Yep.
Because we was traditionally oral disseminators of knowledge. We didn't do this with the secret squirrel, write it down and pass the note under the table, which
Mm.
became volumes and volumes. So they
Hold on, Ryan. You can't hear you.
formed. Once they put them in the back on,
Yeah, hold on for a second. Trying to wait till it catch up a little bit. All right.
right. So once they start putting it in book form, then they can control the narrative of what you should study if you're a good person and what you shouldn't study if you're a bad person.
Mm.
But when you get to the higher realms, there is no good people or bad people. They just people.
Mm.
When you get to the higher realms, there is no light skinned people, dark skinned people. They just people because they're
Facts.
all represented by a light body. When
Yep.
you're in a light body, you don't have a race, you don't have an ethnicity. You have to take on physical form, and normally the form you take on is the prevailing genetics, if you are Etherian, of the surrounding culture. So
Mm.
if you want other cultures to be able to tap into, they call it tying into the vine, then they have to be also on the same geography as what we call the main line, the main bloodline. And this
Mm.
is your Mississippians that all of these other tribes are tied in. They call it twigging. And then they call it the one drop of blood doctrine, right? And where do you go to get the one drop of blood? You go to God's crucible.
Mm.
It's another epithet for America. Once you in God's crucible, now you submerge in what's called the great melding pot,
Yep.
right? Once you in the great melding pot, the goal is catharsis, right? So the most wicked people had to do the most wicked stuff to the most righteous people because the most righteous people can take it better than everybody else.
So that
So
so
when
that's
they put
so that's mainly
yeah,
why. Go ahead. Go ahead. My bad.
so this is why you seeing being played out in front of us. They
Mm-hmm.
playing it out in front of us to say, see, I told them they just didn't speak the language.
Mm. So that's mainly why the great majority, because a lot of people be like, well, why are we so discriminated against? Because it's all according to their blood contracts that they have. So where is this at? Okay.
You see this? The idea of an American vote is not much different from other ideas about a chosen people.
Yeah, I seen it.
Chosen people, including the Nazis, always have the right to perform blood sacrifices. Think about that for a minute. Now, the the people that send our children to war don't send their children to war.
Right.
Why they don't send their children and why they send ours? See, it's whose hands is the blood on, and how can they use a cat's paw? They always using somebody else to do the dirt for them, so you won't never know who it is doing the dirt. This how they all of their isms, racism, sexism, casteism. This is why all of these isms work. They work on they manipulate your ignorance to their advantage, and then they compel you to defend your ignorance with pride.
They some dirty mofos, ain't they? And then we're gonna get
Mm-hmm.
on.
Look, it say the best of the reconciliation is always a process of myth making and fictionalizing. Those sacrificed in this way, it say those sacrificed in this way are always less, inferior, non-human, not like us. This is very similar to Reagan's notion of the evil empire, the Russian communists looting and raping American business. When America was financing Russia when it was communist the whole time. Most people don't know that.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. Wow.
Go back, you can pull up an almanac from any time before the wall fell. And the number one economic aid to the communist Russia was the United States.
Mm.
They was giving them billions of dollars a year. So let's go into the practice of blood sacrifice. Throw this up so that people could see it.
All right.
It's at the extent to which the blood sacrifice for practice is quite large. In fact, the types of people and the details of the various sacrifice would require volumes. Some examples from different parts of the world, then it goes into Abraham kills Isaac to create a new orientation for the Hebrews in Greek mythology. Agamemnon kills his daughter Iphigenia, so the winds can carry the Greek ships to rescue Helen and Troy. The idol god Molech cult sacrificed children by fire. The Germans had a covenant with their gods, which demanded not only animal and human sacrifice, but supported sacrifices for victories over their enemies and the sacrifice for funerals. So they just used the blood ritual to capitalize on us at every turn because we don't know we not protecting ourselves spiritually by selectively opting out of as many other rituals as we can, and we begin to wake up.
That basically comes.
Then the power and the hold that the blood magic have starts to dissipate. But you got to be able to identify whether it's in the church, the mosque, or whether it's on Wall Street, or whether it's in DC, or whether it's in Hollywood. And what you see a lot of celebrities doing is actually telling on them. When you see them celebrities doing, they actually telling on the people that's putting them up to it. This right here, they literally telling you the people running Hollywood, this is what they into. But they dress it up in costume form to make it more palatable because most people don't believe it's going on.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And they call that, it's kind of like ceremonial magic. Call it the Govey. That was part of I was looking for the part of the publication that talks about that. But we're gonna go back up here.
Mm-hmm. That's also the prefix to government too.
So this cult of Moloch, does this also apply to? Because I sent you this right here, and it talks about how the MIT explains why laws are written in an incomprehensible style, just as magic spells use special rhymes and archaic terms,
archaic terms.
and signal the power and convoluted language. Legalese acts to convey a sense of authority. They include. Let me see. So, like I
Yeah.
said, so is that right? So, whether how they write these laws and governments and how it applies to, like, politics and things of that nature. So whether they write it
Mhm.
in pen or paper, or whether they signing these contracts and signing over these bills or whatever, it's still an incantation because it's still Babylonian blood magic, correct? Because I said, like, whatever, you frozen.
You breaking up a little bit, D-Bell.
Okay, hold on, let me get some of this stuff out the way. All right, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, so does that basically apply to everything as far as, like, whether writing out a contract, you signing over your nature, whether if they signing certain laws and government, it's still a form of a blood sacrifice because they still writing it in blood, whether if they writing it in pen, pencil, or marker or whatever. Because what was you basically implying to that as far as it still being a blood magic incantation?
Okay, now look. When you go back, when you go and look at your signed and sealed documents, the
Mm-hmm.
ones that don't have what's called an embossed seal is normally a red seal.
Mm-hmm.
But it's red ink, it's not actual blood.
Right.
Because the foundational document is the secondary constitution written in the blood of Crispus Attucks that's kept in the George Washington Masonic Memorial,
Right.
right? So all they have to do now to maintenance it is to simulate it. And they simulate it by red ink and by a dead language.
Mm-hmm.
The dead language is the Latin that they use in order to write the legalese. And the legalese is written in the form where commoners don't know what you're talking about. But because the colloquial language is similar, because a lot of Latin went into the founding of English, a lot of ancient languages, Sanskrit, Latin, Greek, ancient Kemetic languages, all go into making up the English language. So now, to maintenance the spell, all they have to do is do so many seals in red ink.
Mm-hmm.
Almost anything come from the Supreme Court gonna have a red ink seal stamp,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's because that's the maintenance of the foundational document. But 2019, July the 4th, the contract ended,
Mm.
right? So now we not in the government. This right here, see what it said at the top?
Yep. The historical material frozen in time. This website is no longer updated, and links to external websites and some internal pages may not work. Executive orders. So it's basically freezing the de facto corporation, basically.
It's dead.
Yeah. Right.
It's now a defunct corporation.
Mm-hmm.
But the stage show got to play out until enough of the originals wake up to the fact that the stage show that's being played. This is why they blatantly put multiple actors in skin masks in front of people. They got the tall Donald Trump, the short dumpy Donald Trump, the medium sized Donald Trump. You got 17 different Bidens. You got 3 or 4 different Kamalas. One of them a man,
All right.
right? And they doing it so obvious that we supposed to look at it now as it's a joke. It got
Right.
they pranking me, right? We on Ashton Kutcher punking us right now,
All right.
right? And
Gregory said it's
so
two
when
different.
the only reason why the executive orders page of the government is not updated anymore because there's no more presidents to issue a true executive order. That's done.
Mm-hmm.
We we in the very ends of reconstruction of tribal law on the land, restoring back the ancient ways in a modern time. It had to be adjusted, and it
Mm-hmm.
took an adjustment period for people to understand what happened, so that they could see all that gloom and doom, them scare tactics. That's just to keep the loose in the air.
Mm.
And the loose serves as almost like a narcotic effect. This is
Mm.
why if you run up on a flock of sheep, they can't even run. If you
Mm.
run on them at them face on, you got to come from behind them. If you
Mm.
come at them face on while they facing you, they froze. They don't know what to do because the
Mm.
predators always attack them from the rear, right? But if you come up them at a side angle or back of them, they know to run,
Mm.
right? But if you come directly at them, they froze. They got a species of goat that literally freeze and turn stiff and fall over like he did when you run up on him.
Yeah, it's got it.
Right, right. So what they showing us here is that the United States government is truly gone,
Mm-hmm.
and that now the people need to wake up because the original people then reclaimed everything. Now we're just trying to get the tribes to remember who the f they are, so that they can wake up from the slumber.
Mm-hmm. So
Because
how
that's Freudian slip.
so how can we actually do that? And when you have so many people within the infrastructure of democracy still trying to fight for reparations. So, because you, like I said, reparations is the carrot on the stick. Like, because when you participate in fraud, you can't claim injury to the system, right? So it's really going to
Yep.
put you under a jurisdiction again if you conform to those appellation titles of African American and Black that ties you right back to the 14th Amendment. So, how, as a collective, can we help people deviate from those ideologies? And let them know that like we didn't come, we've been here the whole time, and it's a lot of people who don't understand that, and how that also applies to uh, ecclesiastical law and their factions of religion.
Well, one thing by exposing what's being done to us helps us to mentally defend from it. And whatever level we realize it at, we can explain to people on the same level what we seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even discuss reparations because under no circum if you start giving reparations, then you're just gonna be money shuffling all over the world going back to the end of time.
Right.
Right? Because at some point outside of America, everybody had everybody slaves. This has
Mm-hmm.
always been the land of the free, the home of the brave until 1492.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's the land of the captive, and the captive is called the slave
Mm.
since 1492. We've been in
Fact.
a perpetual state of warlock. All
Mm.
Big Mama banks was closed. Well, shut their system down. Now her banks is opening up.
Mm.
Right?
So, what about restitution?
It's the same thing. They
Mm.
can't restitute. They can't. The only thing they can do is give us what's ours, and then they don't got nothing.
Exactly.
If they give us what's ours, they don't got nothing. So then, what we gonna get from them?
Mm.
So you got two options. You can fight for reparations. That means fight for what you want, or you can fight what's rightfully yours, which is gonna surpass reparations by millions
Facts.
per individual. That is
Mm-hmm.
right. So we don't know. We just sit here and we follow the system, but the system ain't going nowhere but down.
Facts.
That's why they named all of the schools, because school is Sheol and Sheol is hell.
Yep.
Right? And now they teach your children how to act like demons.
Yep. Yep. So that so when we get right back in the groove of the publication, let me see, because we didn't get into this right here. Because we was going into the blood pacts. Yeah, the practice of the blood sacrifice.
I think did we go over this already?
Yeah, we already went through that. And then you got the well documented.
Okay, you see where it say the Phoenicians of Carthage?
Yeah, I see it.
Do you know what Carthage is?
That's like out there like
It's an old
translate.
Egyptian city.
Okay, okay.
Phoenician is a reference to, that's one of the names before they was called Etruscans. They were called Phoenicians,
Facts,
and they was
facts.
the seafarers, right? And they was the ones who shopped this blood rituals around the world on the high seas using the admiralty and maritime jurisdiction. And this is why the Scottish Rite color is red.
Mm, that's a good connection right there.
One of the reasons.
That's
The
crazy.
other reason is because the Scottish Rite Freemasons usurped it from the daughters of Isis and
Mm-hmm.
replaced the nuns, right? They changed the dress of the nuns. The nuns used to wear white, and
Yep.
Big Mama only one wore the black. That's why they called her the Black Madonna,
Facts.
right? The symbol was in Kemet is called the primordial nun, N-U-N. And that's why they spell nun N-U-N instead of N-O-N-E.
Mm, mm.
It's trickery in the first degree.
Facts. Nothing but semantics and technology at its finest. So let me see. Also found this kind of interesting too at the bottom right here. It's talking about during the Great Viking Age of Scandinavia, the legend has it that humans were sacrificed to Odin in order to defend their universe against chaos. They will also assimilate the wisdom of their victims by drinking their blood. Of course, we are all familiar with the Aztecs, the Mayans, and their preoccupation with human sacrifice. So, I think that one guy, he had the guy who killed Sonya Massey, he had a Scandinavian tattoo on him, didn't he? And he had all types of, I forgot what type of sigil he had on him, but I know it basically coincides with like Nordic mythology where they propagate Odin.
Yeah, but a lot of those things is applied to those doctrines that wasn't originally there. You gotta remember, they didn't slid blood sacrifice into every religion,
Facts.
right? Because during the time of Muhammad, they didn't believe in blood sacrifice, but now they got some kind of symbolic ritual of blood sacrifice in their religion.
Facts.
The same with the church, same with